Almost everyone's seen a Marvel movie at some point, and my experience in the past has been a lot like most people's, where I would go see them in theaters and then I won't watch them for a long time. Maybe I'll go back and watch one. But recently I decided I was going to go back and watch all of them in timeline order, and I actually had a great experience. There are a lot of things you don't realize when you're watching them, and a lot of things you don't get the grasp of when you're watching them just when they're coming out in theaters. Like the amount of time between character appearances, it seems very downplayed if you're not watching them in order. For instance, Captain America shows up in the first Captain America movie, and he doesn't come back until the first Avengers, which is a long time when you're actually looking at the timeline of the movies, because there's several movies in between them. Or Jane Foster, she was in the Thor movies, and the last one she was in was Thor the Dark World, and then she doesn't come up again until Thor Love and Thunder and his Mighty Thor. So the amount of time that passes is really dramatized when you were watching them all in order, and there's hours of movies and shows in between the two, and you start to not forget about the characters, but you're forgetting that where they are in the world, and then when they come back, it just all pieces together, and it feels pretty rewarding. There are a lot of things with passing of time, like Tony Stark just getting older and starting to become a family man. He gets with Pepper Potts, he has a kid, and then he really just growing up. And something like that you don't really get the same grasp of when you aren't watching them in the order they're meant to be in and see the characters learning and you're learning with them. There are also a lot of emotions that don't have as big of impact when you're watching them out of order. And something like Wanda with growing in connection to Vision, and all that time passes, and then he ends up dying, and you can really tell why it affected her so much, and the amount of time that passed before she does the things she does in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. You can really tell the reason of why she has gotten to that point, or I went back up a little bit to WandaVision, and she does what she does because it really affects her, and you can understand that more when you're watching them in the same timeline that they're living it, and it makes a lot more sense, and I feel like the emotions come out more and it gets you more connected and can appreciate the movies and shows more. And of course there's countless instances of the relationships built between the characters and the amount of time passes, but these are just a few that I could think of, and I really just feel like they have a lot more meaning this way. And with that said, of course, not all the movies are great. Some of them just aren't very good. Like Eternals, I wasn't a big fan of. I didn't think that even in the timeline order, it wasn't really worth watching. But it is in the MCU, so it's going to come back at some point, and watching that's really going to matter. And if you don't watch all these movies in order until a later date when that actually matters, and these movies are going to make a lot more sense. And of course, there are the movies that I personally love, like Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. I love the show WandaVision, Spider-Man No Way Home, and these are just some of my favorites, but they have so much more emotion, and you can get really connected to them when you understand the story. You are watching all the way through, so you know all of the small storylines and all of the small little side events that happen, and you remember them all, so they're fresh in your brain. And there seems like a lot more happens and a lot more makes sense when you watch them this way. And if there really is no other reason to watch it other than the fact that you get to watch the movies again, they are amazing movies and they're very fun to watch. And I think there's always a good reason to go back and watch them, like the original Iron Man movies or Captain America. I think they're very good, and a lot of the time we don't go back and watch those often, and I think that makes it worth it. If you are looking to watch these in timeline order, the best place I found is just on Disney Plus in the Marvel section. If you go down, there's timeline order, and it makes it very easy. You don't have to look around and do research. You just get to watch them that way. But you can't look online if you don't have Disney Plus, and you can just do it that way. And then if you buy the movies or get them however you do, you can just watch them through that way. But it is worth the watch. It makes a lot of difference, and I would recommend going through and taking the time to watch all of these. Thanks for watching.